let's continue on with the NBA. The Memphis Grizzlies, they traded Desmond Bain to the Orlando Magic. Orlando gave Memphis 4 unprotected first round picks, Kentavious Caldwell Pope. They also gave up Cole Anthony and a first round swap. I like it for Memphis, champ, regarding their future. Orlando, you can make the argument, hey, we've been to the playoffs past couple of years. The East is still wide open. So hey, why not make a deep trade with this run? We saw it with the New York Knicks with the Mikal Bridges. They gave up so much draft compensation to the Brooklyn Nets and they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. But my thing is though, with Orlando, I like Paolo Banchero, I like Franz Wagner. I think they have a young, good team. What do you think about the trade?
Desmond Bain is a great player, but that was a little much. That was a little much. If you really want me to be honest with you, that was a little much. And you have to ask yourself, what direction with this trade? I'm not asking so much as the direction they're trying to go with Desmond Bain. He's gone already. But you have to ask yourself this: is Memphis trying to stockpile draft picks so they can get rid of Ja? That's the question that I'm asking. Are they saying that this team has gone far enough at this point, and we just need to go ahead and just start rebuilding while we still have a chance and while these players still have value? And is Ja on his way out of there? And was Desmond Bain the first domino to fall? And was the first chess piece to fall? That was the first question that came to my mind. That was a lot to give up for Desmond Bain. It was a lot. Desmond Bain is a hell of a player, not taking anything but 4 first-round picks, 2 role players. So that was a lot. But like I said, you have to wonder, is this the first domino to fall in order for them to eventually trade Ja as well? And is his time in Memphis coming to an end, especially with some of the dysfunctional things that have been going on with the coaching, have been going on with the front office, have been going on with a lot of things. So that's the question that I ask. Good trade by the Memphis Grizzlies to get a lot of draft capital, because you have some hell of a players coming out of college in the next couple of years.
Yes.
Especially, my bad, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I said yes. Go continue, champ.
Yeah, especially with the transfer portal and everything like that. You don't know who's going to come out of nowhere in order to be great. It's getting better and better. And the players are more polished. Remember, a lot less players declared for the draft this year. They're staying in college now because of that NIL money. So they're getting the skills that they need in order to be successful at the NBA level. But you got to ask yourself this. This is the question that I ask. Who's next? Or is this the first domino to fall in order to get Giannis? In order to team Giannis up with, because it's a possibility. You got 4 draft picks and 2 role players, and you have your own draft capital.
I see him in San Antonio. I would see him in San Antonio.
I see him in San Antonio, but can you imagine the press that it will bring Ja Morant and Giannis?
I know, but at the same time, though, how's the two going to work? It would work if you would have a quality point guard. Ja does play the point guard, but he's not like the type of point guard like a Trae Young or like that type of point guard who can like pass, but who can also shoot it well. You mentioned Ja Morant, whether a possibility they may move on from him. Of course, ESPN Stephen A. Smith. This is what he said on First Take regarding the safety in Memphis. He said, quote, "The people in Memphis is a great sports town, great fans, great people, but there's an element where cats like Jimmy Butler and others don't feel it's the safest environment. I'm talking to the local authorities in Memphis. You got to clean some of that stuff up because it's dissuasive to NBA players. They have talked about it. I know they have told me." And Ja Morant, had something to say regarding that. I don't know if I have the tweet right here, but Ja Morant did have something to say regarding what Stephen A alluded to on First Take. So let me see if I can try to find it real quick.
Basically, what he said was, because I'm reading the article a little bit right here. That's the reason I keep looking down. But basically, what he said was Stephen A is worried about the wrong thing. He should be covering the finals, cut out with these fake, what sources, and everything is fine. So basically, that was what he said right there. Number one, I think John was absolutely right, because there's so much other stuff that we could be talking about. And number two, there's a lot of other big cities that have crime problems. That has never dissuaded anybody from coming there. Chicago, from, I mean, we could start with Chicago, Washington, D.C., Miami. People say Miami is not what it used to be. So there's a lot of places where it was crime. So
I got the tweet right here. Yeah, I agree with you, champ. And I got the tweet right here from Ja Morant talking about the Grizz more than the finals, with the laughing emoji, with these cap sources. And then he said, instead of focusing on the performances we've seen from Jalen Williams, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, TJ McCollum, Pascal Siakam, how long the series is going, we say something negative about a city/team on a national level. And it is unfair, to your point, champ, because we are taking away from a really good finals between the Pacers and the Oklahoma City Thunder. But back to the trade, I think Memphis, they just did it for their future. I don't know about Giannis. I see Giannis more in an organization like a San Antonio because of the rich championship culture, the history. Popovich, you've talked about it, not just only as the head coach, but also with the staff. And plus, to learn with guys like a Tim Duncan, a David Robinson, and you have something to look forward to with Sterling Castle, Victor Wembanyama, CP3's there. CP3 can still play. And it would be a better fit for CP3 Giannis than a Giannis, because CP3, he's going to dish the basketball. He may not be the same defender as he was earlier in his career, but Chris Paul's still going to compete, and he has the knowledge and the brains to do that. So fit-wise, I would like it for Giannis. But it's crazy. It's going to be interesting to see. But I think Orlando, they just did it because they feel like our best time is to compete right now. Who knows what's going to happen with these draft picks? So let's get somebody a Desmond Bane, because we talked about it. The East is wide open. And I just mentioned the Mikal Bridges trade. You know how many draft picks New York had to give up?
Yep. And like I said, I believe they did that to their future. And that's really, with Desmond Bane gone, you have to ask yourself, what are they going to do? What blockbuster they have planned? What's this trade in order to get more draft capital, in order to obtain a Giannis? Because it's going to take at least six, at least 6 draft picks in order to even get Giannis at a certain point. Or did they make this for their future because they know they're about to trade Ja in the offseason? And it's a question of where if Ja's going to end up leaving Memphis at a certain point, because everybody was talking about it when the coach got fired. Everybody was talking about it.
Not to mention Ja's off the court behavior, because we've talked about it before, champ.
Yeah, with the pews and all that other stuff.
And that's probably another reason why he came to the defense of Memphis, because again, Memphis. And Ja, I'm sorry, but these are facts. We saw the videos with him with the gun situation that led to the suspensions.
Yeah, we saw it. And yeah, there's a lot of questions about that, but I really think that's an unfair indictment on a great city like Memphis, especially when you think about it being the music, with the music, not just hip hop, but country and stuff like that. And, with Vanderbilt, not Vanderbilt, but there was Vandy. But it's very, very unfair. It's very, very unfair for that city to be brought up in a negative light, especially with Stephen A. I mean, what does that have to do with anything? Chicago has been full of crime for years. Washington, D.C., Atlanta, Atlanta. So a lot of big cities, when it comes to big cities, a lot of big cities, they're going to be put on these, right or wrong, they're going to be put on these high pedestals when it comes to crime. Damn. And it's a huge city, so it's kind of hard to ignore them because guess what? They're supposed to be attractive cities, but crime kind of, but that's taken away from the NBA Finals. I thought that was very, very cheap. And I believe that's the reason why ESPN is not what they used to be at a certain point, is because they always try to bring drama into sports. And that's the reason why. And that is the reason why ESPN is their ratings. And that's why a lot of people call it the W Network. I'm not going to use the word, but you know what word I'm talking about, because they're always trying to bring drama into sports where it doesn't belong. It doesn't belong there. What does that have to do? What the thing is, that has nothing to do with the basketball team. We've seen a lot of other areas that are not necessarily friendly get attractions. Remember, when they built the Staples Center, a lot of people were not for that, with it being in downtown LA. People did not want the Staples Center in downtown LA. But they built the arena, and guess what? It's been thriving ever since. So just because you have crime in a certain area doesn't mean the basketball team can't thrive or attract free agents, especially when you have an attraction and a player like a Ja Morant. It does not mean that. So again, that's another indictment on ESPN trying to bring drama into a situation where it doesn't belong. And that is the very reason why ESPN is going downhill as we speak right now, because of drama. It being more about drama than it being about sports.
Well, that's not a surprise to me, Champ, because look, they gave Stephen A. Smith that 5-year, $100 million contract. So money doesn't change. It makes you more than what you already are. And if Stephen A. may try to deny that, there was the photo of him playing solitaire during the NBA Finals. So,
I mean, like I said, you can multitask, because sometimes, I'm not going to lie, I have sat here on my computer and played, I'm just going to play Atari while I was like on and watching a WNBA game. You can multitask, but I'm not a professional
journalist.
That's not my full-time job. You have to have a level of professional. You have to have a level of professionalism and understand and read the darn room. Everybody's watching you already because they want to see you fail. They want to see you fail. You are not the media darling that you used to be, even within your own community. You're not the media darling that you were when you were on, quite frankly, when you were with Allen Iverson. You were basically covering the Philadelphia 76ers, and you were a beat writer back then. You are not in the good graces of the world right now.
Yeah, exactly.
And with you being the face of ESPN, everybody, whether we like it or not, Stephen A. is the face of ESPN. You are the face. So you have to watch every little thing that you do. People are watching that. What does it look like you playing solitaire while you're on your damn job? What does it look like? Oh, you can multitask. Okay, you can hide that stuff. You can look at your phone every now and then and see what's going on. Like I said, while the Indiana Fever, while the Chicago Sky play, I have sat here right here and played on my computer while I'm watching that game. I have done that. But at the same time, I don't have 50 million people looking at me as I'm the face of the network. I'm not the face of the network. When I'm on this show, when I'm on this show, I don't do anything but watch what's going on this screen, and I might look over in order to see what's going on sports so we can talk about it as we go, but that's part of the job. I don't go around here and play Atari while I'm on the Sports PSP podcast, while I'm on Sports for You, while I'm on Stay Tuned, while I'm on my own darn podcast, because that's called freaking professionalism. Be professional in your gig. Don't nobody want to see your behind play solitaire while the NBA Finals is going on. What is that about?
It tells me, champ, that this is who he is. Money don't change you. Money makes you more than what you already are. And I think it's too late. Stephen A. Smith is 57, about to be 58 in October. He's a Libra, just like you and I. So when you've made a certain amount of money, and he's no question, he's made a ton of money throughout his career. When you're the face of ESPN, I mean, do you understand how horrible of a look it is for ESPN to have the face of that company just to be playing solitaire while the NBA Finals is transpiring? But ESPN, they don't care. Because at the end of the day, what's the big deal? We still, I mean, even though people are still going to watch our product, and this is what they're subjecting to. We talked about the Stephen A. LeBron situation, champ. We talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
And we understand how embarrassing it was for LeBron and for Stephen A. Did I like how the fact that LeBron confronted Stephen A. Smith publicly? No, I did not. I felt like he should have handled it behind closed doors. But you've always said, hey, LeBron handled it like any parent, like any father in that scenario. He confronted Stephen A. because he felt like the criticism regarding him and his son went a little too far. And Stephen A. Smith embarrassed himself, particularly bringing up LeBron missing Kobe's memorial, which that was totally irrelevant, had nothing to do with it. And we talked about integrity. Brian Windhorst has integrity. Still to this day, we saw the video of him being harassed by those or heckled by those Knicks fans. He still kept it moving. I believe if that were Stephen A. in that scenario, he definitely would have cussed. He definitely would have said something. Totally going against journalistic integrity. But I think, champ, it's too late with Stephen A. Smith. ESPN ain't gonna do nothing about it. They gave him his money. They're also at fault as well as Stephen A. Smith. So they have to live with this as well. Hey, you made your bed, you gotta lay in it. So you did your homework. You gave Stephen A. Smith that contract. Again, I respect Stephen A. Smith for his work, but lately that's why I called him a heel, champ. Because remember, we did babyface heel. You and BRF called him a tweener. I called him a heel. Now, again, I'll say it and I'll say it again. Just want to be careful. If he now compared to Jason Whitlock, I told you before, he'd be a babyface. You said it yourself, champ. My worst fear, my worst nightmare is to be compared to Jason Whitlock. You said it yourself. I don't want you to do it. You would give up your career as a journalist, as a content creator. Again, I do not want you to do that because you worked too damn hard to get to this point. Why stop now? But he's becoming something that he didn't want to become. And ESPN, they're part of it because at the end of the day, he's giving them high production. So the higher the production, the higher the tolerance level is. But back to Stephen A. Smith with Ja Morant regarding Memphis. Did he had to go there? He could have just talked about the trade. He could have talked about something else that may have played a role for the trade, but that's about that. I just didn't like that part. As far as with Orlando with the trade, I don't know. I don't blame them though, because again, the East is wide open. If the East wasn't this wide open, I wouldn't have give up all those draft picks. And they feel like he's another scorer to go along with it because you got two playmakers and passers and Paulo Banchero and Franz Wagner who can also put the ball. It hurts losing KCP because, again, of his ability to hit perimeter shots from the three to defend. I like it for Memphis. But at the same time, they still have to figure out what they need regarding a head coach because Taylor Jenkins is no longer there.